Welcome to the Art of Happiness. My name is Tam, and not only am I joined by my lovely co-host and very dear friend Erin, but we are also joined today by Laura Brenner, who is a former dentist and now currently the founder of Bees, a coaching business and brand.
We're so excited to have you today to talk about
Welcome, Laura.
your hobbies. And I don't know if you wanted to start telling us a little bit about yourself
Yes,
first.
tell me all about you.
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you guys so much for having me. I love your podcast. I love what you're doing. And the title of it is so clever.
Thank you.
So I'm just excited to be a part of this. Well, so let's see. You know, I think as a kid, am I going way too far back?
No, you can go all the way
Yep.
back to the beginning. The day I was born started a journey.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my life story. No, I mean, I think as a kid, I was always so impressionable. Like I never really knew how to think for myself. I really followed a lot of other people. And I think that kind of grew into adulthood as well. So I think there was a timid nature to my personality. And I was a little afraid of just kind of putting myself out there always as a little kid, which is kind of surprising if you know me now,
Right.
because that's not how I am. But even as a kid, you know, I was just copying other people. So I'm a dentist. I call myself a recovering dentist. I practiced for 10 years and then I left dentistry after 10 years in practice. And for me, it wasn't the right career. But it is a great career for so many people. It's just, I wasn't listening to myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I got really invested in my identity as a dentist. And I think this happens with any career.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're an attorney, an accountant, a mom, we get so invested in that we forget that we are these whole humans.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got to just a very dark place in my dental career where I had nothing else. I was just like nonstop focused on
The
dentistry,
hustle.
the hustle, exactly. And so I think in a way I didn't ever discover who I really was. But also at that point I lost sight of who I was. So I remember, reaching out to a career coach because I felt very lost. And one of the things I said to her was, I feel like I'm bored and I feel like I'm boring.
Oh, wow. That
Yeah.
hits. That kind of hits me a little
Yeah.
bit. Like, I feel like I can really connect to that. Keep going. I'm resonating with you.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, and it was, what we discovered was that I didn't feel creative. And so many people in at least my profession don't feel like they have any creativity. And I experienced that when you separate from your own creativity, you separate from knowing who you are. Right?
That's
and when you
interesting.
can reconnect with that creativity, then you get to know yourself again. And then you can start to listen to yourself and your whole world opens up. And you can do whatever you want, whether it's, in my case, I could have stayed in dentistry, I could have left, but part of it was I needed to become more than just this single focused work identity.
Which is so tough for women because I feel like, and I think we've talked about this before on our podcast, is I think as women specifically, that we kind of grew up in this generation of like, we have to be the ones that break that glass ceiling, and like time, like for pleasure was wasted time. Like we needed to be hustling the whole time to get to that realm. So it's so interesting, especially you guys being in like the medical field, because I feel like that's very, is that right brain or left brain? That's right brain, right? Right brain's the one that's like, we're like technical and detail oriented, right? And like the creativity is like the left side, right? So it's interesting that you were like, no, I have a left side. Like I have a creative side. It's in there somewhere. We're going to find it. So I feel like you're just really resonating with me about how you just are trying to redefine who you are creatively. I feel like that's where we're at right now.
Absolutely.
it can change your life. Because I will say that I didn't think I had any creativity, and that's what made me feel boring. And who wants to feel like you're a boring person?
Who wants to be a friend with somebody who's boring? Like, it's so hard for us to find friends because we all think we're boring because we're like, we just work so much.
Yeah, it's so easy to get stuck in that negative self-talk about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and the self-talk and that image of yourself, like, Tam, you're talking about your friends. How about being friends with yourself?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Liking yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's why we're on this journey, is to try just find things for ourselves that we love to do and just follow our own intuition for the first time ever.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because even you kind of mentioned about like listening to yourself and really trying to figure out who you were, right? Like that's us. We're in that.
Yep.
We're in that together.
Together. And I'm still in it too. It happens to me all the time. It's a constant process.
It is a constant process. That's actually good to hear, because I was kind of curious, like where you were on that journey. Like, do you feel like you've achieved your goal of pulling that creativity into your life and redefining that person that you wanted to be, or are, I guess I should say, or do you feel like it's an ongoing process?
I totally do. I do feel like I've really kind of tackled that. But I think we still settle into the comforts of life as you go, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was creating a new identity, which, oh gosh, let's not even go into like ego. And it's going to be way too confusing. If we're confused by left brain, right brain,
let's not get too advanced for Tam here. I'm more the comedic relief.
But it is so easy to fall back into our habits, right? And to not continue moving forward. It's so easy to talk ourselves out of continuing on. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So continue on with your story with like how you ended up. I really want to dive into how you started your blog and blogging. So that's something we're really interested in. So
yeah. How did you pick that? Yeah.
So keep.
Yes.
Yep.
So my ultimate hobby did become blogging. But you guys, we were emailing previously, and you asked me like, hey, do you have any other hobbies? Some of the things I tried, I'm sharing this because you guys have done it too. Do you know I tried to brew gluten-free beer?
No.
And
I did know that. Yeah, share that with us though.
How'd it taste?
It was not the best.
Yeah.
And like it was just trying things like you guys have tried things, like baking bread and beer is so much like baking, which is kind of funny. So random things like that I would try, and you just try them, and it's like, is it a red light or a green light? You try it. If it's good, you keep going. If it's not, you don't. I loved cooking, following recipes, so I think people mistake what creativity has to be.
Yeah.
I think people think that creativity can only be art or music, but it's really about creative thinking.
And I think I'm one of those people that was in that closed-minded shop. Like when I said, I would Google like a hobby, and like only 3 would come up: knitting, sewing, crocheting, and I'm like, well, those don't really resonate with me, so I must not be a person who could do a hobby. But in us doing this podcast and exploring, and like our listeners like bringing suggestions to us of hobbies, it's like I would never have considered that. And like, what a great opportunity to find other things. So you're right. Creativity is a very broad word that I think people think very narrowly about.
Right. And anything to get us into our creative thinking is gonna open our worlds, right? Well, you guys, I don't know if you know this story, but I was my husband found this article in the newspaper that was like a tiny blurb. It was just like 2 small paragraphs about this travel website that was looking for a travel show host. And they were doing a contest, which is like a brilliant marketing idea for their website, right? Because what we had to do was submit a 1-minute video and then get everyone to vote for you every day. So you're just sending traffic.
Oh my
Love
gosh,
it.
yes.
Yep.
Brilliant, right? Well, my husband was like, I felt so bored and boring. And my husband was like, you're so stuck. He's like, look at this. Because I will say, one of my hobbies also was travel. We forget about travel as a hobby.
Yep. We've talked about that.
Yeah. So he was like, you should do this. And I I was like, there's no way.
Right.
There's no way I can make a video. Right? Like, and by the way, guys, this was 2000, I don't know, 9 or
Oh,
something.
gosh. Yeah.
So well before the Instagram explosion.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Were you using like a tape to actually record yourself and like a camcorder?
You know what? It wasn't a tape, but it was like a camcorder type
Yeah.
of camera.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think it was. Well, so just to kind of get to the meat of it, I ended up realizing that, you know, I had to do something. I was just sitting there I was in my own way. So, and I saw that some other people were putting some videos on and they weren't that great. And I was like, you know what? I could probably do better. So I made this video that was very fun. It was so much fun. And it didn't like, yes, I was focused on this outcome. Like maybe I could win this thing. But what it really was about was seeing that there was more to me than this person who was just like a robot going to work every day. And that changed everything. And then obviously I didn't win this contest because it was, you know, there were a few professionals who entered these videos.
Damn it, Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah, right.
But it's amazing. Just putting yourself out there, like flipped a switch in your brain or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I knew the whole time that I wasn't going to win, but I was a little crushed because I was kind of clinging to it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Saved me,
Yeah.
right? And then I just came to terms with it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a blog.
Wow. Okay.
So, you know, sorry, Tam, go ahead.
No, I was just commenting. Like, that's great that you didn't let that defeat you and you were able to kind of use that as a
Stepping stone.
Yeah, to move on to another hobby.
Right. You got to pick yourself back up,
Yeah.
right? And you guys have each other for that,
Yeah.
We
right?
do.
We're very
Plus, like,
fortunate.
you're also not putting as much pressure on your hobbies as I was.
Trying not to.
Yeah.
Having
Oh,
each other
yeah, I
helps
know.
with
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
especially when I, failed miserably at calligraphy. That I'm so glad I didn't start with that because I think I would have.
I do think it's natural we get stuck in this idea of like that we need to do really well at our hobbies and make it like turn into something or like achieve something. It's hard to like just give because our personalities don't lend to just giving up on it.
Yes.
And so we're like each time we do something and give it up, it's actually like kind of
Freeing,
yeah.
for us, yeah, absolutely.
So in
It's
that
like-
regard, it is good. So yeah,
Gross.
we're learning to just take it as it comes, right?
I love that. I love that. And when you stop and think about it, well, first we're all overachievers, right?
Yes.
When you stop and think of it, how funny does it sound? Like I was crushed that I couldn't do calligraphy.
That just felt like it was basic writing. Surely I just need to be more patient.
I felt extremely defeated by sourdough bread.
Sourdough.
I was like, what?
Starter baby.
Like-
Is Starter baby still alive?
Well, it doesn't look.
Oh
it's in
my
It's in my fridge still. It doesn't look very good.
Oh no. Please, somebody out there,
So-
listener, help
Yeah.
us save Starter baby.
You really went big on your first one,
Yeah,
Erin.
that was a challenge. So
Yeah, for sure.
people just
achiever.
make it look so easy, right? Online. So
Some people are
Yeah.
just naturals. You're just supposed you're just born for sourdough and you don't even know it.
I
There was an
guess.
article that I read once, and when I say article I read once, I'm not even positive it was in fact an article or just somebody said something to me. It was years ago. That was like everybody has some sort of hidden natural talent. But maybe you don't find it because you just don't live in that environment or you just aren't put in that environment. Like you guys, I could be the world's best snowboarder. And we don't know it because I don't live near a mountainy, snowy place. And also I'm very afraid to try to snowboard. But I bet if I tried,
maybe
I might be in the Olympics someday.
So
What's up, Sean White?
So we need to find that, put ourselves in those situations
Yes.
that we would never normally do.
Well, and maybe through this podcast, that's going to get us
Right,
there, right?
right.
Like we're forced, obviously we have this accountability to the podcast to find that. But
Yeah.
I want to hear more about your
Yes,
blogging.
so do I.
though. Tell me about how you went from filming for a potential host of a travel show to being like, all right, I'm blogging, I'm doing this. Like, what was the mindset to get over that initial kind of bummer and then switch gears into something like writing?
Yeah, I think you have to allow yourself to just kind of work through the feeling of rejection or failure, whatever it is. We all have it. And then you just pick yourself back up, right? And you look for ways that you can find a win out of the thing that happened. So that's what I did. And it's funny because in school, always, this just goes back to how well we know ourselves. I always thought of myself as a math science person. I actually didn't really love English or history or writing. I was much more interested in the math science stuff because it was quick, easy answers.
Definitive sometimes.
Objective, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny to look back. Hello, overachievers. Do you know what AP classes I was in high school?
What?
English and history.
Oh, really? Interesting.
How weird is
that?
That is kind of
so weird.
odd.
That is weird, yeah.
Talk about being unconscious and not knowing yourself. But because it always felt like so much. So writing was a little bit of a challenge for me because it is time consuming. But I just use it almost like a journal, you know, like what's her face's Bridget Jones' diary.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
Maybe a little less personal.
Yeah.
But still, I just kind of started writing that way and saying, I'm just going to do this. And like you guys with your podcast, I just committed. I committed to writing every other week. And it was challenging in some ways because it still does. It takes me a long time to write. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but it was cool because I ended up growing. Oh, and by the way, I was writing about food and travel. I just picked two things that I liked.
That's it. You just were like, this is what I'm going to write about. I'm just going to write my thoughts.
Food and travel,
Love it.
And so when I was traveling, meanwhile, there's a million travel blogs out there, right? But there are strategies and techniques you can do to build your audience. And I learned so much from that experience. But the best part about it was when I would travel, I would just pay attention. I would just look for stories. And my style of writing is, I think, kind of similar to how you guys podcast is. It's about what's my challenge and how can I find the solution in this challenge and how can I grow from this. So while I was writing for other people, the biggest gift was for me because I would process any of my stresses and things I would go through. And when you share something publicly like that, it helps you grow in a different way than if you're just
totally agree. Yes, absolutely.
And then did you get a lot of feedback on that initial blogging, or do you feel like it stayed pretty private?
Nobody read it.
Yeah.
I think like 6 people read my blog.
I love it.
Yeah, but it was so much fun to kind of explore my creative voice.
Yeah. Do you feel like it helped you it sounds like it helped you be more present in what you were doing? Yeah.
And I keep saying it like expanded my world because when I would travel, I would look for, I would be able to process experiences. Like traveling can be painful sometimes. You know, you might be stuck in an airport for 6 hours. Or if you're hiking, you might feel that pain when you're hiking up the mountain and you don't feel like doing it. But if I could pay attention to those moments and turn them into experiences that I could grow from or write about, I would say that the intention was to write about, the outcome was that I could grow from it. It just gave me so much, it just kind of added to the creativity and my view of my world, and it really expanded everything. And then I started seeing possibilities and opportunities and got unstuck, just connecting with my own creative thinking.
That's so great that you were like reflecting during that. And like Erin mentioned, like it gave you like the opportunity to be kind of present in that nature. So has your blog evolved? Like, are you still in like that phase where nobody's listening, or has your blog grown over the years? Where you currently stand with it?
Well, so I am an example of with a little bit of intention, a little bit of commitment, or let me say a lot of intent. No, a little bit of intention, a lot of commitment, a lot of accountability, and a little bit of luck. I was able to turn my hobby into a business.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. And it was just having hope and just doing it for the sake of doing it, not putting the pressure on it to become something.
Yeah.
That's great. So you didn't start your blog with being like, okay, this is gonna be something and I'm gonna be profitable from it. It was truly just a hobby, and then it just naturally progressed into that monetization.
Exactly.
Awesome. What did it look like on that day when it switched to monetization?
Yeah, so I knew it was going to open a door. That's the only thing, is it was like, I'm doing it because I don't know where else to go. It's going to open a door. And then, so I was writing about food and travel.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I saw this blog post that was titled 10 Reasons I Hate the Dentist. And I'll be very frank, I was like, screw you.
Personal attack.
Like, we're so used to that as dentists. And I was in kind of the thick of the pain in my career. And one of the hardest things about being a dentist is you go to work every day and people tell you they hate you.
Every day, at least once a day.
That would be
Yeah.
defeating. Oh my gosh.
It's hard. Yeah. And you're like, I pour my heart and soul into helping you. So I decided that I was just going to write this blog post back. And it was kind of like an open response to this 20-year-old woman. Her mom was a hygienist, and she was kidding. She was being sarcastic.
Sure.
But you know how much truth was in
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So my reply was, all right, fine. Here's 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too. And that was the title of it. 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too. And I just got out all the frustrations and things in the very similar type of like tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic way.
Sure.
And literally that night it went viral.
Wow.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Actually,
Do you feel like
I wrote it in like August, and then I was like, well, I don't want to post it yet,
Yeah.
because what if someone sees it? I'm still practicing dentistry. Like, I mean, even though we feel a lot of these pains and resentments, we still show up, do our best for patients.
Sure.
We want them to know we care about them and love them. Even though I was miserable, I still did my best work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saved it. And then when I actually quit dentistry, I blogged about quitting dentistry. And then the week later, I posted this, and literally that night.
Wow, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And so you posted that on the travel blog, or you started a new blog at that point?
So no, it was on my travel blog. And to this day, all of my travel posts are, so I pivoted.
Yeah.
And my blog turned into, well, when that happened, I heard, it went wild through dentistry, and people were like, wow, this was in 2011. Nobody was talking publicly about any of the challenges that we have in dentistry.
Wow. Way to be a pioneer.
Accidentally. Yeah. Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. Do you feel like because there was not much pressure on you, like you felt like there wasn't a lot of readers, that it gave you some bravery to post something like that?
Yeah.
Or
Probably.
or it was just transpired. I don't know. You finally had something clicked in your brain that you just were like, I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna. I don't know. I'm gonna be completely brutally honest. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that authenticity.
Yeah, that is exactly the word I was thinking.
Maybe helped you really. Go viral.
Yeah. I was just having fun with it. And, it also goes to show how a title, like it was just, the title was so catchy and raw and true for all dentists, and not just dentists, but spouses and parents and children and team of dentists. Like everybody who's connected to dentistry knows that everybody hates us, right?
Yeah.
So it just kind of, it all came together, but I was just having fun. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think anybody was going to read my blog. But just in case, I waited. So I didn't ever want a patient thinking that I was really, truly hating them.
Sure.
But it really connected me with, it was so good because it connected me with a lot of other dentists who were feeling burnt out or similar or feeling frustrated by the work that we do. And they started reaching out to me, and they were like, how did you do this? I would get emails from people in Egypt who were like,
Wow.
yeah, you said one of my reasons was every time you leave the office, you tell me, like, if you leave because you just got a crown, you tell me that you just bought my car
Right.
with your crown.
Stop it.
All the time. Yeah.
People say
Yeah.
that.
Always.
Yep.
Always. Oh, yeah. Tam, you got to read the list. You'll
Yep.
be shocked.
I am totally going to read your book after this.
Yeah.
I can't
You'll be-
believe that.
So,
Yeah,
do you,
and they don't mean it that way.
no,
No.
It's very tongue in cheek, but there's a little truth to it, right?
Well,
So,
and I'm sure if
yeah.
you're already kind of feeling like down about like your profession, and somebody's coming in saying stuff like that doesn't help. It doesn't help.
No, and I'll even add that even if you do like your profession, it doesn't help.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right.
Like people who like their profession, these are the things that make them feel bad.
Yeah, it makes you start to doubt your situation or your choice. Yeah.
Which is so interesting, like especially with you two being like medical professionals, because I feel like growing up and even still now, like you guys are just held at such a higher tier. So to hear that even like you guys can kind of be like, man, what a challenging day, or like, bummer that patient didn't feel so like positive when they left the place or made a comment about just bought your car.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I
Well,
can't even finish my thought.
I got an email from a guy in Egypt who was like, people say that to us too, except for saying that they bought my car, that they're saying that they bought the shirt I'm wearing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a different level.
That was such an eye opener for me. I was like, wow, we're all the same.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right. It does cross like there's like that underlying like language barrier that isn't there when it just comes to just like perception.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Right.
so but like now that you've pivoted to now it has become a new career for you, do you still, I want to go back to the blog, like do you still enjoy doing the blogging? And I know you still do posts, but has the mindset changed a little bit in that you feel like it is more work, or do you still enjoy it
As a hobby, yeah.
Well, the sad thing is I haven't blogged in ages.
Has it
Oh.
okay, yeah.
It's it bums me out because what happened was, and by the way, I started when that happened, I was like, I'm not writing about travel anymore. I'm writing about my journey into and out of dentistry.
Yeah,
Which
sure.
was such an opportunity because no one was doing that.
Right.
And so I did that, and it was so cathartic for me because it was, what I did is something that most people don't do.
You really put yourself out there.
Isolated. And so like getting to write about it and just connecting with a couple hundred people who would I just built all these friendships. And I kind of deep down inside knew that I wanted to go back and help dentists with burnout in their career. I didn't know it was burnout at the time because no one was really talking about burnout then. Now it's such a keyword. But I knew I wanted to help dentists improve their careers in dentistry as a coach. And it took me 6 more years to go back and say, I'm going to do this. Because I just tried other things along the way that never really amounted to what I wanted them to become. And so finally I said, you know what? I'm going to commit to this. I want to do it. So started my coaching business, still blogging a ton. And it's just gotten busy enough that I haven't made the time to sit down and blog. Because remember, it takes me a long time. It was easier for me to find the time to blog when it was separate from my work and I had a couple days off because I was not working full-time in dentistry. And now it's like when you start your own business, you're working all the time.
Absolutely.
So it is my favorite part of my business. Well, I shouldn't say my favorite part of my business, because my favorite part of my business is connecting with the people who I get to work with. But my second favorite part of it is being able to just share this way. So I want to get back to it. And hopefully I'm kind of taking the steps to work back to it. Because I think it's a huge part of even the health of my business, not just of myself.
I think it's interesting because you're kind of giving like this this tone of like community as really being like important, even in the hobby world. And I feel like as I'm exploring hobbies, I do think that's something that's drawing me, you know, like I think whenever I was previously Googling hobbies and it was sewing, crocheting, you know, it's like
They're
those
like
are
all
very
solo hobbies.
yeah,
right?
yeah, that you can just sit on your couch while, you know, you're with your kids or whatever. And I just wasn't connecting to those. But the hobbies that I feel like I'm starting to kind of be more interested in are ones that are building a community. And there's like that strength in numbers. And so hearing that like you found like a realm in which you had others that kind of related to you, it seemed like that kind of helped you take reins of that hobby and move forward. So I think that's interesting, talking about hobbies.
That's such a good point because I also so part of my transition out of clinical practice was I became a weight loss coach.
Oh, wow.
And so I bought a camera and I did food photography. There's another hobby.
Yes.
I would take recipes and I would turn them into healthier versions that I could share with my weight loss clients. And I put that into a blog that still exists.
Great.
I don't ever post there. I don't do food photography anymore. I love, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I love pictures of food.
Yup, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What does that makes you a foodie if you like pictures?
Yeah. So it was fun. But I never fully invested in it. So it never really went anywhere, right? Like I was like, I don't want to buy the equipment. And
Yeah.
so it was fun, but it wasn't, you know, it just kind of fizzled out, which is fine. But I will tell you that having that community was what kept me going every day to write my blog, because I didn't get that sense of community with the recipe blog. And it was, I just, after a while was like, you know what? I'm not getting the back and forth with this. So I'm going to stop doing it.
For sure.
So it's a great point. If community is important to you, and it is to a lot of people, allow your hobby to be that vehicle.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you really just, I mean, I know it was a lot of ups and downs through the years, but you really followed your just intuition and kind of just tried to be open-minded, and it led to something really great for you. So I don't know. It's really cool.
Yeah. Laura, I mean, you've been so fascinating today, and I like so appreciate you taking the time to join us and tell us about your journey. I know, like, I think I've told you, like, I think blogging is something that I would be interested in. So I did have some ulterior motives about picking your brain a little bit.
Well, we can chat, and I'm dying to start a podcast.
Really?
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Then
you'd be so good at a podcast.
You would be great. And I feel like maybe we could have, like, a meeting where we share strategies here. And I can think of what could be my catchy phrase for a blog title? 10 reasons why I love the dentist that I see.
Well, we do love patients and people like you.
Yes, absolutely.
We love to be loved.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
True.
Yeah, no, thank you so much again. Is there anything that you would like to promote while you're here with us?
Well, I would want to thank you guys so much for having me. I love what you're doing. It's so much fun. And like, do the hobbies just for the sake of the life experience.
True.
And whatever unfolds. It'll change your life. And I think you guys are seeing that. You've got this. This is your hobby.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Nothing else. You found your hobby,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
But, you know, I have a Facebook group. It is geared towards dental professionals. It's called Dentist Side Gigs. And it is a lot about hobbies. And maybe eventually we can turn our hobbies into side gigs and we can just enrich our lives a little bit more. I also do a coaching program where I help people connect with themselves and also start side gigs. So I've got the Facebook group and also an actual active coaching program where I help people start side gigs and design their lives and their careers on their terms.
Great. I love that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Thank
really
you, Laura.
inspiring. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. We'll be sure to list all of your links on our podcast website, so please, check that out.
Awesome. Thank you
All right.
guys.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
joining
Laura.
us, Laura.
All right.
Give a great one.
Bye. Thank you for listening to The Art of Hobbiness. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And for more Erin Tam fun, be sure to follow us on all socials for behind-the-scenes footage on our journey to find hobbiness.